Every client has a story, and their story is not just that moment that they walk through the courthouse doors. And what holistic defense does is it trains lawyers and non-lawyer advocates and social workers to look beyond the confines of a single courthouse or a single case. And what we do when we understand the full context of a client's lived experience is we bring that into our advocacy, even though we are operating in a system that wants to see them through the narrowest lens. And in some ways, holistic defense as a model just refuses to let that happen. I think when we force the system to see that same complexity, it is transforming the system, one client at a time. Originally, when the Bronx Defenders opened its doors in the South Bronx, we knew that we wanted to open a different kind of public defender office. So we set about talking to the people that matter most, the people that were impacted by the criminal justice system and their families and their communities. And what we discovered is that sometimes what mattered more to a person than their case was having somebody care about and address the drivers of criminal justice involvement. When somebody is arrested, that arrest alone can trigger a whole host of other legal issues, consequences, and problems. If they live in public housing, they could end up facing an eviction case in housing court. And if they are foreign born, they could end up fighting a deportation case in immigration court. And if they're a parent of a child who was present in the home when they were arrested for drugs, they could end up fighting for the custody of their children in family court. In many ways, our model is really not that radical. Our model simply reflects the systems that have been constructed and that ensnare our clients. They are all interconnected, and they funnel people back and forth between systems regardless of the entry point. And for us, it was just a realization that we needed to mirror the lived experiences of our clients and of the oppressive systems that they have to navigate. And so that's ultimately how we built the structure of our organization.
Our office is divided up into teams, which I like to describe as mini Bronx Defenders, because every team has all of the components: criminal defense lawyers, social workers, parent advocates, immigration attorney. So the actual team is 25 to 28 people. From the moment we meet a client, the entire team is ready and available. We have people, investigators and social workers, on call every day for the arraignment piece. So when bail is being determined, we sometimes have been involved in the case, not just a lawyer, but a team of people prior to that person ever seeing the inside of a court. And even if we get the case in the normal course, which is through assignment at arraignment at first appearance, we still have that team ready to go. That is incredibly different from the traditional model.
We're very intentional in sort of modeling holistic defense from the very beginning. Our trainings are interdisciplinary, so everybody is exposed to the different disciplines and different roles and are sort of trained to recognize different issues that may come up in certain cases, so they know, okay, that's going to trigger an immigration referral, or that's going to trigger a civil referral.
It is the client who is the leader and not the lawyer. And that ethos is very, very real and is here and is the culture of the Bronx Defenders. You may know the criminal legal consequences the best, but it doesn't mean that you know what is right for that person. Only that person knows what is right for them. Studies across the board have shown that if somebody is not in custody pending trial, the likelihood that they will be sentenced to an incarceratory sentence is much lower, and the amount of time that they will actually spend in prison or jail on an incarceratory sentence is also much shorter. So the focus on arraignments and getting people out early actually has an enormous impact on the ultimate sentence. We do have an early intervention intake team. So if somebody knows that the police are looking for them, we, over the last 20 years, have really established ourselves in this community. The community knows who we are. They know that they can come to us. We have a 24-hour hotline that people can call. And when they call us, one of the things that we always do is invoke their rights. We take them in to self-surrender. We go with them. And so when you get to the court and the lawyer can stand up and say, you know, this person has met their responsibilities. They came into the police voluntarily. They will continue to meet their responsibilities. That is a very powerful argument for release. But even when we don't have that early intake piece, our lawyers are trained to, again, address very powerful arguments at bail. So when you are explaining to the judge all of the reasons that this arrest alone, never mind the possibility of a conviction, would impact this person in a severely negative way, and why that will encourage the person to come back to court, to meet their responsibilities, to work out a disposition that doesn't have that impact, or simply to fight the case.
In terms of working with clients in drug court, it's still a very rigid, punitive system, despite all of the social science research that tells us that addiction is a long road and that relapse is part of recovery, and that putting a jail alternative over somebody's head isn't necessarily going to make them more successful or motivate them more to complete treatment. The court still doesn't recognize that. When clients of color from poor communities use drugs, it's seen as a criminal justice issue. So working within the confines of those systems is hard, but still the goal is to meet the client where they're at and, again, try to maximize their chance of success. I've had some clients be like, you know what, I'm not going to complete treatment, so I'd rather just take jail time because I know I'm not going to be able to do treatment. And okay, so we'll try to get you the least amount of time possible because that's what the client wants.
There is a huge percentage of cases that ultimately are the results of negotiated pleas. And that component is really where the holistic model makes an enormous difference. If somebody is potentially going to lose their home, their job, or their status in this country, it's impossible to call that collateral. To be able to have an expert in those fields who can say and talk to your client about what the consequences are of the plea, then we can make an argument to the prosecutor of saying, this is not the case that should result in their children being gone, in them being homeless. When our lawyers go to trial, they are the person in the room who knows the most about the person, the case, and what happened. Our investigators have sought out every single witness that is available. We have always been to the scene. There's possibly been discussions with family members about the background, about what else happened. And then obviously we have done an enormous amount of training on trial skills. So even when our young lawyers are in their first, second, third, fourth trials, they are unbelievably prepared for those trials. The Bronx Defenders as an office is very dedicated to being a part of this community. We're lucky enough to have on staff a director of community outreach as well. We do know your rights trainings in immigration, in criminal, in interaction, just general interactions with the police. But we also are involved in a lot of the decision making that impacts the community, whether it is, community boards or lobby days or something else that has the possibility to impact the community on a bigger scale. And that is something that I think is critical and important as well, and ultimately does lead to better advocacy on the big scale and on the individual scale.
The thing about holistic defense that is important to know is that the model is scalable and it can be replicated no matter where you are. Even if you don't have the resources within your own office to bring a diverse array of services in for your client community, you can create relationships that ease and create seamless referrals for our client community so that they can get access to what they need. So maybe an organization doesn't have the resources to hire a social worker, but can partner with a local school that has a social work program and create an internship or an externship program with that school. One of the things that's incredibly exciting right now for the Bronx Defenders, and I think for defender offices across the country, is that we are just beginning to realize the power of public defense. Not just to have an impact on our individual clients' lives, but also to identify what are the systemic problems that we're seeing. We can not only identify what those problems are, but we can be the ones to carve out and create and really push for systemic solutions to those problems.